Do you ever think of that last crazy bit first and then think of the other panels to put around it? Or is it always a linear thing?
It's always linear, top down. Like I don't make the end panel first, if that's what you mean.
Like you think of that end panel first or whatever, the big, like, what the hell is that thing in the comic?
No, it's usually like 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
It's for both of you, but Flork has an agency. Before you had an agency, who was your favorite VTuber?
Probably Marie.
Rain?
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Tim? Do you have one?
No, not really.
Not yet.
I just got him into it. So.
I know. I would say, what's her name? Gort, the shark girl?
Barbara?
Gray, maybe that. He honestly got me into it, so I'm still having to learn.
I recommend Fauna.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, Fauna's good.
How'd you get into VTubers?
Well, it started as a joke, and then I was like, oh, I can make it real. And then 6 months later, I did. So.
I thought he was joking too, and then one day he was like, bro, you should get into VTubing. And I'm like, what's VTubing? And he's like, he showed it to me, and I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. And so I actually met him. He flew down to Texas, and then I drove down because I lived in Arkansas. And he introduced me to the crew and whatnot. And so I guess we're doing this thing, and now I'm roped into it too. But it's fun. We debuted our VTuber about 3 weeks ago, and cumulatively we have like, I don't know, like 50,000 views. I mean, it's a lot. And I was like, holy cow, he was onto something. The young kids love the VTubers. Yes.
What was both of your first drawings?
First drawings. What was your first drawing? How old were you?
I don't know, 2 years old, probably some lions.
Yeah.
That's hard to say.
I don't know. It's like a dog, maybe? I don't know.
I mean, your first real drawing.
Real drawing? Yeah, what's a real drawing?
I don't know, when I was 6, a happy family. If you mean like Flork of Cows, probably like 2015 is probably when I did that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I started working professionally in 2007. 2007 is when I started working professionally, and I got my first gig drawing Transformers merchandise.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, any more questions?
Anything.
Anything.
It's fun.
You ever, I don't know if it's art block of any kind, it might be a part of it, but something that you're working on and you get to a point that no matter what you do, you just cannot for the life of you figure out how to continue it. So all your ideas just fall flat or it doesn't work. You might even think of some part ahead of it, but you just can't connect everything together. Do you have any how to deal with that, or tools, anything you can use to kind of circumvent that or to spark that creativity, find what it is you're missing?
Yeah. I give up. I'll walk away for a while and I'll come back to it, or I'll just work through it. But
There's a thing that's really funny. So I'll put you on the spot here.
Okay.
I could never tell if he was kidding or not, but it's happened at least 3 times already where I'll be like, Flork, the boss has come in and he said he needs this drawing. Can you do it? And he was like, I'm gonna have to rearrange my schedule, but yes, I'll work on it today. I'm like, cool. And then 10 minutes later, it's done. And I was like, was he just messing with me? It's just like, I know your drawing style and whatnot, and I'm just like, oh, I interfered with his schedule. I can't believe I messed it up. And then there it is right there. And so I was like, I swear he's got to be messing with me. Like, that's just so crazy. But I would say that for beating that block, there's a famous author, and he's the guy who popularized popular psychology. His name is Malcolm Gladwell. He wrote a lot of books in the 2000s, and one thing that he wrote was a study on what separates a master from just a hobbyist or a person who does anything. And he was looking at like athletes. He was like, how do you be like the cool Olympic shooter guy who just has to go like that versus like, you know, the team that has like all the kitted out, you know, guns and whatnot. And the key was 10,000 hours. All across the board, it was 10,000 hours of the same repetitive thing over and over again. And the funny thing was, I'd always thought to myself, how does it apply to art? And it dawned on me on one day, because as an artist, when you're drawing and you're drawing something complicated, you're like, I'm never gonna get this foot right, like it just looks weird, or I don't know how like a bicep works. There comes a time where you'll know when you cross that 10,000 hour mark because it's effortless. You're just like, someone's like, hey, can you draw how the calf muscles work? And you're like this? And then you didn't realize like, oh, when was I able to do that? Like, that's so crazy. I didn't have to look at a reference anymore. But it kind of reminds me of, I have to keep it PG because it's a family convention. It's like in that movie Superbad. They're telling this kid, they're like, do you remember that thing you did in school where you just drew that thing over and over again? And his like notebook was just full of these like images. And they're like, what was up with that? He's like, I don't know, that's all I wanted to draw. And so sometimes I'll have some families come up to me and they're like, how do I tell my kid to quit drawing like Spider-Man? I'm like, just let him keep on drawing Spider-Man. Like, maybe after 10,000 hours, he'll be really good at drawing Spider-Man. So if he likes drawing it, just let him keep on drawing it. There was one question over there.
Right on.
Okay.
If you had to pinpoint one artist or one, just one thing in your life that inspired your work greatly, what would it be? Like manga, webcomic, comic, any of that stuff.
I mean, I guess webcomics.
Anyone in particular?
Anyone in particular? Side-Eye and Happiness. Yeah, they kind of got me in popularized webcomics, so it's kind of what got me into it.
I like Studio Trigger. They did a lot of famous anime like Kill la Kill, Little Witch Academia, Dungeon Meshi, Delicious in Dungeon. They're the guys who did that. I was not an anime person at all in college and in my 20s, and then all of a sudden I had a friend, I was actually getting tired of American comics, and a friend of mine said, you need to try manga, you gotta watch anime. And I was like, I don't like any of that stuff. And he basically told me, he's like, just give it one shot, and I swear, you're gonna go down a rabbit hole and then you're never gonna look back. And I watched Little Witch Academia, and I loved it. And I looked at the animation studio, and it was Trigger, and I looked at something else, and it was Kill la Kill. And he was like, don't watch that, that's a little bit weird, you might be weirded out. I was like, nah, I'll watch it. I watched it, and I was like, I can't quit anymore. I just gotta keep on watching. And it's never ended, and that's all I do now is, I know some people think it sounds bad, but I almost never read Western comics like Marvel and DC. I just don't care. I just read, and I read a lot of manga and I watch a lot of anime, and that's it. Oh, there's one. Oh. Let's get you first. It's a piggyback question, I guess.
It was related to what you were saying earlier. This is the real question I was thinking of. You said Western comics is very cutthroat. Is that the same everywhere, or just Western?
It's only in the West. It's only in, by that I mean America specifically. You'll meet a lot of artists who are kind of told, like, all you have to do is focus on the art and whatnot, and to succeed, you gotta step on this guy. Just to give you guys an example, let's see, someone will win a No Prize. What are the 3 countries that are the largest consumers of comics and manga in the world? Does anyone know? Japan is one of them. Not South Korea. Who said France? Stop by the booth and I'll give you a prize, okay? That's the one that everyone misses. Number 3 is the United States. The United States, France, Japan. France consumes comics like crazy, but they treat comics with such a reverence that almost all of their comics are in hardcover. And that's what we do for our comics. We actually adapted 3 models: Western storytelling, manga aesthetic, European presentation. The French are very polite in terms of their creativity, and they are just kind of isolated. They're just told, work in isolation, create what you need to create, and you're gonna partner up with some people and be friends. The Japanese, incredibly polite. Even though we kind of think of like the rivals in Japan, you know, like you're looking at this creator and this creator, they hang out all the time. They, they go out, they party. There's never any animosity. American comics, and I think it's part of what leads to its downfall, is that in the American comic scene, they have never grown since like the 80s. And you'll talk to one creator, talk to another creator, they hate each other or they pretend to like each other. The next day, they're on the internet being like, that guy sucks, I can't believe he said that. And he's like, well, he believes in this, let's go cancel him. And it's like, why? And then meanwhile, we hang out on Japanese Twitter, and it is sunshine and rainbows. All they want to do is talk about how cool anime is and what they're eating, and oh look, I like there's this one creator I follow. He almost never posts his art. It's always like a butterfly flew by my window, and that's what he wants to talk about. And so my partner and I, we just hang out on Japanese Twitter all day because it does not have to be like this. Like, you don't have to behave in this way. What I find, having talked to Flork, is for webcomics, and he might have a different opinion, I think webcomics is a lot healthier. So far, I've never had any problem with webcomic artists. They stay in their own lane, produce their own work, and we don't have any trouble. But Marvel, DC, Image creators, oh my gosh. I mean, I'll go on record and saying they're the worst. We've had the worst experience with them. They miss their deadlines, they're divas, they're lazy. We actually stopped hiring a lot of Americans because they can't make their deadlines on anything. And I've worked for 4 years with Japanese artists. Not a single one has missed a deadline, ever. They've made every single one. Whereas for American artists, it's always like, oh, I went to the beach. It's like, yeah, but you had 3 months to do this. Like, what part of the beach did you not understand? I went to the beach. I'm like, my gosh, like, I don't know why. Are you trying to make me feel guilty? So I would have to say it's pretty much like an American thing. You know, the French definitely don't have that problem. Question in the back?
So you said you knew someone who worked on Doom. Was that the original Doom or the Doom reboot?
The Doom that's coming out, is it this year or next year?
Next year.
Next year. His name's Alejandro Mirabal. We sell his book at the booth downstairs. But so last year, he was under NDA, and I kept on bugging him. I was like, "What are you working on over at id?" He's like, "I can't tell you. I can't tell you." And then when they announced it, I was like, "You were working on Doom this whole time?" And he's like, "Yeah, I was working on Doom." I was like, "Oh, I don't blame you. That's really cool." But yeah, he has a book called Long Harbor, but he's had to postpone the sequel because he's been working on Doom, you know, pretty much for the last 2 years.
All right, and before I let you guys go, I know it's a pretty big convention. Where can we find y'all?
I have a big flag.
A big flag.
Yeah, you won't miss it. It says Flork of Cows. We're Hall A.
Yeah, we're right next to each other. You'll see Flork of Cows. We're across from them. Iconic Comics, right next to the merch booth. That's where you can find us.
Well, I think that's pretty much everything. Let's give them a big round of applause.
Thank you guys so